Hello. Hello, this is my artifact episode number 3359. Today's date is 13th of March 2025. It's been almost like a night at 9:57 p.m. All right. Okay, so there is a one thing that is actually happened today. Okay, and I wanted to talk about that thing. All right, yeah. So basically, is this thing ki yesterday I was actually talking about the feminism, what is actually feminism and stuff like that. Okay, yeah. Whatever I was actually thinking, I was like a like basically this thing I was kind of like a something talk about such. Okay, what exactly happened? Okay, start from the beginning. Okay, no, it's not start from the beginning. Okay, if you want to know what exactly wanted to talk, it's a something. Okay, yeah. Explain in short. Okay, so basically it's this thing ki there is a girl, okay, there is a man who look like kind of like a something six pack, abs, biceps, triceps, a full jack pack kind of like a something body. Okay, yeah, you are actually consider this kind of like a something body is a admirable. Like if you kind of like a see that particular person having that six packs, abs, and something like that, a man you would kind of like admire, inspired, wagera wagera. Okay, yeah, as a man, as a woman, yes. But is this thing that if the woman does it the same thing, then that admiration and then inspiration became something really hollow. Like it doesn't really kind of like a something really good. Why? Because of that ki we usually like a man should supposed to be have six packs, abs and tricep biceps are acceptable, appreciable, or kind of like admirable. Okay, yeah. But having the same thing on the women, it kind of like a something feel little bit of off. Like it's not. Why? Is actually because of that ki our thinking, our thought process. Like from the thousands of year ago, we are actually kind of like a something thinking woman should supposed to be look like a beautiful. Okay, yeah. But having that kind of like a something jackpack body for a woman, it does not represent beauty. It does not represent beauty. It represents little bit of manly. Okay, yeah. So that's why like most of people are don't really accept that ki women have that kind of like a something particular abs and triceps and stuff like that. It's something really wrong. It felt something really wrong. Okay, yeah. So I asked this question that ki what is actually the feminist? Okay, yeah. Being feminism is a kind of like a something having equal right for men and women means like that ki if I'm kind of like a thinking that ki having a man having that particular body is admirable, but same thing for the woman I am not admirable. Like it kind of like a feel something really wrong. So in this particular situation, the feminism is kind of like a little bit of fade away because in this particular time, the feminist is kind of like a something unequal. Okay, yeah. And like it's something really wrong now. Like a feminism means like should supposed to be equal rights, but it's completely off. Okay, yeah. So yeah, so I like basically this is my kind of like a some thought process. I was actually thinking like that. So I wanted to kind of like some sort of opinion. Like, is it my thought process or is it someone thought process or is it like a? I wanted to kind of like a simply diversify my thought process. So I asked the same question to my friend Prashik and Pravesh. So they're actually thinking the same. Okay, they are actually thinking the same that ki this is actually happened. Okay, yeah, we've been actually talking about so many things. Okay, regarding about that ki why does women kind of like a when to do that thing? What is actually kind of like a some reason for women to do that? And there is a one kind of like a something one of the main reason that we found as a like one of my friend is Pravesh is actually found that ki literacy rate is a kind of like a something really kind of like a something really a reason for having that particular girl have jackpack body and stuff like that. And as also he mentioned that ki literacy rate like having that literate women is also kind of like a something for more and more divorce. Okay, yeah. And I was like really stunned. Like he mentioned that ki if the one particular city has a kind of like a simply so much literacy rate, like a boy, girl, everyone is kind of like simply educated, then the divorce rate is also really high. And this is kind of like a simply statement, okay, yeah. And I was kind of like a simply say that ki how this statement should supposed to be right, because my friend is actually suggested that this statement is a true, okay, means like that ki having a literacy rate high means like that ki having this divorce rate is also really high. So I was like a from statistic point of perspective, it's right, okay, yeah, this statement is right. The number are actually showing the same figure, the thought process are everyone actually thinking the same thing. But I don't know, like I am not kind of like something accepting this thing. I'm not accepting this statement that ki having a literacy rate higher doesn't mean that ki it kind of like a something higher the divorce rate, okay, yeah. So I was actually thinking about that. I wanted to analyze this situation. I wanted to think like, is this statement is right, like from graphical point of perspective, from societal point of perspective, and analytical point of perspective, this is kind of like a only statement considered as a true, means like that ki having a higher literacy rate means like that higher divorce rate. This statement is true from every point of perspective, like analytical thought process, from social point of perspective. But I am kind of like considering this thing is a wrong, because there is some certain thing is a wrong. So what is at least this thing, why I'm kind of like a feel something really wrong, okay, yeah. So I need to kind of like something understand every point of perspective, okay, yeah. What is a literacy rate, okay, yeah. A literacy rate means like that ki how much you are educated and how many people are educated in particular community. Okay, means like that there are 100 people. Okay, yeah. So in that 100 people, 90% of people could write, could read, could talk about, could write means like that वो लिख सकते हैं, वो पढ़ सकते हैं. They could kind of like a, yeah, these are kind of like a something associate as a literacy rate, means like that people would kind of like a something write and read, and kind of like a something right. Okay, yeah, so it kind of like consider as a literacy rate, means like that ki 100 out of 90% of people could do that, means like that in that particular 100%, in that particular 100 people of community, my literacy rate is almost like a 90%. Okay, yeah. So this is kind of like a some literacy rate, right, yeah. Means like that ki having more and more education is kind of like a something good for the community, good for the people, good for the everything, right, yeah. Then I ask another question, okay, yeah, to myself, that ki like a being like okay, being a literate person, being a kind of like a something educated person is good for the community, good for from every point of perspective, okay, yeah. As a woman, as a man, everyone should supposed to be educated, should supposed to be literate, all right, yeah. Now what is exactly marriage, okay, yeah. Like is this marriage is a kind of like a something adding any kind of like a something positivity in the community? Yes, definitely is this thing. The marriage is kind of like a something something really event where which is actually happened from thousands of year, and it kind of like a something meant to be kind of like a something happen naturally. Because of that ki marriage are kind of like a something reason so that we could kind of like create our future generation, okay, yeah. So marriage are kind of like a something event which actually happen in every civilization, and it meant to be happen. It is kind of like something good for the humans too, okay, yeah. All right. Now, if I'm gonna say in the community, having a more and more literate person is good for the community. Having more and more people would married people, or kind of like having more and more people should supposed to be married is also really good for the community, right, yeah. Then why this statement is kind of like a something wrong, means like that ki being a literate person means like that being more and more chances to be get divorced, get kind of like a something stay away, like I don't know, like I was kind of like a something blaming that ki if the couple is actually kind of like a something not handling their relationship or not kind of like handling their marriage is because of literacy rate? Like no, there are also another thing now, but why? It's kind of like a something I was actually thinking that why everyone is kind of blaming that ki if the marriage is not work, being illiterate is kind of some reason. Then I was actually thinking that why? Okay, yeah, because let me give some sort of statistic, okay, number or analytical point of perspective. Okay, having a divorce with some sort of person, okay, basically if the marriage if the both the person get married and because of some sort of reason they don't want to be kind of only continue their marriage, so they wanted to get divorced or something like that, which is something really good. Okay, yeah, it's also really right, if the both the person are don't really match the thought process and stuff like that, so they should supposed to be stay away, which is also right. This kind of some divorce is not exist 50 year ago or maybe 100 year ago. Okay, what do you mean by non-exist? Like non-exist means like that na ki it is exist, but most of people don't really knew it. I'm talking about as an Indian point of perspective. Okay, yeah. I'm not really sure about the US and what is actually happening in China and Japan and everything, because I don't know that. I am belong to the India. I am from India, and whatever exactly information that I have is actually from India. So I'm gonna telling about that particular point of perspective. All right, yeah. So what I'm trying to tell you is this thing that he usually from Indian point of perspective, divorce is kind of like a something that doesn't really exist 100 year ago, and way before that is like non-exist. Marriage is kind of like a exists from thousands of year ago. Okay, but divorce is a kind of like a stuff that is not exist, really not that exist. Okay, nothing really at all. Okay, yeah. So and not that exists, what is actually meaning of that? Like what it's not exist means like that ki people don't really knew about that, means like that ki 100 year ago if I'm married with some certain girl, okay, yeah, so that means I have to be live with that girl for rest of the lifetime. Okay, yeah, and this is a kind of like a some thought process is actually imprint in my mind because of my surrounding, because of the influence of everything. Okay, yeah, because usually from Indian point of perspective, having both the people get together, raise a child, and kind of like a generate the future generation and die together. So this is kind of like a something uh, rule for living the life. Okay, I means you have to be married and something like that. Okay, during this particular process, if both the people don't really like each other at all, you just have to kind of like a something just adjust with that thing. Like basically in in Indian point of perspective, most of the people, like I'm actually talking about like hundreds of year ago, most of people are kind of like adjusting with each other. Okay, yeah, means like that ki they just kind of like adjust, yeah, like if the one person didn't really like this thing, they just adjust that particular stuff. Okay, yeah, is this right? Well, basically yeah. And because of this adjust kind of like a something thing, as a woman don't really get divorced, as a man didn't really get divorced, even if they don't really like each other, they just don't really do any kind of like assembly divorce. Because of that, कि having kind of like assembly divorce is not acceptable for the Indian community 100 years ago. Right now it's kind of like something very common, but 100 years ago, which is kind of like a something people don't really accept that, as a community don't really accept that. They think that ki why do you kind of like a something doing the divorce and stuff like that. Like basically the family from the boy, family from the girl are kind of like convincing them to kind of like adjust with each other and kind of like something live the entire life. You don't really have any choice. Yeah, like a divorce is kind of like a something rule was established, but as a Indian community or kind of like a some influence in Indian community, divorce is kind of like a something stuff that you shouldn't supposed to be take. Nothing really at all. Because of that, ki when you take the divorce means like that there is a family pressure and everything like that. And 100 years ago, usually families in India are kind of like a stay together. Okay, yeah, like they meant to be kind of like something stay together, and something is actually happened. It kind of like impact on everyone. What is actually family means like that? I'm not talking about husband, wife, and child. No, as a kind of like a family means like that. 100 year ago, family means like that. Me, my brother, my sister, my brother's wife, my sister husband, my father, my mother, my mother's relative, my cousin. There is a lot of kind of like a family. Like basically, as an Indian family should supposed to be live together. Okay, together. Okay, yeah, like a grandpa, grandma, everyone should supposed to be live together. Okay, this is called kind of like a something of family. 100 year ago, right now the meaning of the family today is a kind of like a different, means like that boy, girl, and child, that's it. Means like that, like a wife, husband, and child. Okay, yeah. So where was I was kind of like a somebody saying this thing that key divorce is kind of like a something not acceptance, kind of like a something 100 year ago. Okay, yeah. But because of kind of like a something, people are literate, people are try to took educated and something like that. Okay, yeah. They usually kind of like a something have some sort of opportunity. What is actually opportunity? Okay, yeah. So basically is this thing that 100 years ago, usually a man should supposed to be provide a food, money to the family. Okay, yeah. But woman is kind of like applying such a role which is kind of like a raise the child, clean up the home, and things like that. Okay, yeah. Means like that na ki usually male should supposed to be kind of like a something went outside and do the work, but women shouldn't supposed to be do like that. I'm talking about from average point of perspective, means like that ki vast number of point of perspective. Okay, yes. So because of that, women didn't really get that much opportunity from career point of perspective, and women don't really educate themselves a lot. Okay, yeah. So but in right now, um women's and men are everyone are kind of like somebody do the education, primary, secondary, they went to the college, like basically all the kind of like somebody, like I'm talking about in 2025, everyone is kind of like a something being a graduate. Okay, yeah. As a girl, as a boy, yeah, they should supposed to be a graduate. Okay, yeah. So when they graduate, okay, yeah, as a woman realize that they would unlock lot more opportunity from career point of perspective, from earning money point of perspective. Okay, yeah. So when the women is kind of like a something went away, kind of like a went away from home and do the work and kind of like a expose the world and things like that. Expose the world means like that, getting the exposure of the world. Like she realized that she could be on money, she could be kind of like a something act as a role as a provider to the family. Okay, yeah. And when she does that, it kind of like a something something like difference happen between the man and man and women. What do you mean by that? So basically let me tell you one thing now, ki also I'm talking about as a Indian point of perspective, and this is my opinion. Okay, yeah. And what is actually happened, I'm gonna tell you, is I'm not really sure is it right or wrong, but I'm telling you my opinion. Okay, yeah. So basically let me tell you one thing na, ki in India, if the man is kind of like a something uh, create or kind of like a doing a role as a provider, means like that ki earning a money, providing a food for the family and stuff like that. Okay, yeah. That man wouldn't able to do any kind of like a something home at work, means like that ki raising a child, making the food for the family, stuff like that. No, like I'm talking about average point of perspective. Okay, yeah. Some kind of like a something men should supposed to be do that, some men are actually doing it that. Okay, but I'm talking about average point of perspective. As the male is kind of like a something really kind of like a acting such a role, is kind of like some provider. Other than that, nothing really at all, means like that he goes to the office, do his work, earn some sort of money, bringing the food, that's it. He just came home and he won't really do anything at all, he just kind of like a sit in front of the TV and just watch the television. Okay, yeah. But as a woman has kind of like a simply different point of perspective. If the woman is kind of like a simply literate, educated, and she kind of like a went to the office, do his work, earn little bit amount of money, bring food for the family. When she came home, she also do the work, like she also raise the child, she also kind of like a make the food, kind of like a clean the house and stuff like that. What do you mean by that? It means that ki women is kind of like a doing the same thing as equal to the men, but when both the came at home, they are kind of like a something, woman is kind of like a doing all those things, like a cleaning the home, raising the child, whatever, and men are not doing anything at all. So when such thing is actually happened, like basically both the people are earning together, both the people are earning same amount of money, but as a woman kind of like a doing much more work and than men. Okay, yeah. So women realize that this is not really good. Okay, yeah. He was kind of like a came home and just nothing really at all, and I was kind of like a doing everything, earning equal amount of money, but still is this thing after I came home I have to do those things, doing a dishes, kind of like a doing the laundry, cleaning the home, raising the child, whatever. Okay, yeah. So when she think like that, she realized that why do I supposed to do that? Because I do have opportunity, I am do have earning money, I am kind of like capable enough to provide food and money to my family. So why should I supposed to live with him? So girl kind of like the woman kind of like a think like that, I should supposed to be take the divorce. Okay, yeah. So it means like because of this example, am I really kind of like a say that ki because of woman she educated, that's what she took kind of like a, this decision, na? Means like that if the woman is not really educated, means she doesn't really went to the office, means like that ki she is kind of like a stay home and doing his work, like raising a child, cleaning the home and stuff like that, then she won't be able to take that kind of like a decision to be a divorce. Means like that ki being an educated woman is kind of like a something meant to be a divorce, right? But this is something really wrong, something really wrong. Okay, now as I mentioned earlier, okay, being a literate person means like that you could read, you could write. Okay, yeah. And basically our education system is provide only two things. Being means like that ki literate means like that you could read, you could write. Okay, yeah. There is a one thing that our education system is not actually providing, that is called emotional intelligence. What's the emotional intelligence? Okay, yeah. Emotional intelligence means like that ki means like that ki how do we supposed to be act as a parents, means like that ki when the child is born, I also became a father of someone. Okay, yeah. I don't know, like I don't know how should I supposed to be that particular person as a father of someone, I don't know. So being a parenting is also kind of like something a skill that I don't know. Okay, yeah. As also is this thing, if I'm kind of like a something living with particular girl that I like, and I am kind of like a something married, that woman is kind of like a something my partner, I also kind of like a something understand regarding about how do we supposed to handle our relationship, how do we supposed to do the work, how do we supposed to handle this situation and that situation. Emotional intelligence means like that ki how do we supposed to be interact with the people to make our life better. Intelligence means like that ki how do we supposed to utilize the information to make ourselves better. But emotional intelligence means like that ki how do we supposed to utilize our emotion or things to the interact with the people and kind of like a something as a build the trust, build the relation between the man to the child to the society and something like that. In our education system, they only focus on intelligence, but they don't really focus on emotional intelligence. Means like that how do we supposed to do that. Also, I'm talking about Indian point of perspective, I'm not really sure about the US and Europe, what does they happen, I don't know. Okay, yeah. So because of absence of emotional intelligence, usually is this thing the male or men kind of like a something lack of those things, lack of those kind of like a something emotional intelligence, and they are kind of like a doing very stupid thing. They don't know how to become a parent, they don't know how to become a husband, they don't know how to become a kind of like a certain person in society, nothing really at all. They think that they are literate, means like that they are educated and they are earning money and that's it. But no. Okay, yeah. Like right now, let me tell you one thing, the definition of literacy is kind of like a different. like you also have to be kind of like a somebody having little bit of emotional intelligence too. Means like that, how do you supposed to handle this situation, that person being a father of someone, how should you supposed to handle that thing? These are kind of like a, some things that our education system didn't really provide, and that's a kind of like a somebody very fucked up thing. Okay, yeah, because of absence of emotional intelligence, that person, that man or that woman don't know how to kind of like a something like that ki build the relationship, or kind of like a something survive, or kind of like a handle the relationship. Okay, they don't know, like basically there is no textbook. They are kind of like a telling that ki how do you supposed to handle this, or how do you supposed to kind of like a build the trust, do the things वगैरह. They don't know nothing really at all. Okay, yeah, like in our education system they are not actually providing such a thing. So which is kind of like assembly one of the main kind of like assembly reason that people are kind of like assembly divorced, because they are not kind of like assembly having that much emotional intelligence. They don't really nothing at all, and they are kind of like a taking the decision by kind of like assembly themselves, or kind of like assembly right for that situation. Because let me tell you one thing now, taking a divorce is kind of like something really bad for the men as also women too. Okay, yeah, I know is this thing at some certain point, as a woman is actually thinking that ki male, a man is a kind of like a simply doing very less work, but in the end at some certain point it kind of like a provide little bit help at somewhere. So what I'm trying to tell you is this thing, the statement that my friend mentioned, that ki having literacy rate is high, it means that ki having divorce rate is high, which is kind of like a somebody completely false. No, which is completely false. Why is this thing? Because of that ki divorce rate is kind of like a depend on so many factor. Okay, yeah. But one of the main important factor is that having less emotional intelligence. This is kind of like a something, one of the thing that kind of like a something very important factor for kind of like a something higher divorce rate is not the literacy rate. It's not. Okay, yeah, like it is that, like it's something that na ki, I don't know, I was actually thinking like that, but it's, this is my opinion. Okay, yeah, like something that na ki um having more and more literacy rate, it doesn't mean that ki having more and more divorce rate. No, it's kind of like a something, you are not blaming for literacy for divorce, nothing really at all. No, nothing. It's like a, like if the one couple is kind of like a somebody taking divorce, means like that ki our literacy rate is kind of like a something the main factor for that. No, nothing really at all. It's kind of like something like absence of emotional intelligence. They don't know how to supposed to handle as a kind of like a somebody, a husband of someone, or mother of someone, or child of, or kind of like a somebody father of someone, or like a wife of someone. They don't know about how they should supposed to be act in that particular community or society. So absence of emotional intelligence is kind of like some main reason for um, divorce rate is high. Okay, yeah, what is actually the solution? um in our education system we should supposed to be teach about that emotional intelligence. Okay, yeah. um but let me tell you one thing na, ki emotional intelligence is a kind of like a something subject where is very different. What do you mean by different? Means like that na ki how do we supposed to teach? Okay, wait, okay, I'm actually thinking about every point of perspective. What is actually emotional intelligence? Okay, yeah, emotional intelligence means like that ki how do we supposed to treat to the people around you or around us or through the society. What is it? What is actually emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence means like that ki how do you supposed to interact with the people, a wife, a child, a community. Okay, yeah, but as also money too. Yeah, money means like that na ki right now most of people don't really know how do we supposed to earn money from money, or how do we supposed to handle the money. They don't know regarding about money, like how do you supposed to handle the money, or how do you supposed to take the budgeting and stuff like that. Which is also kind of like a part of having little less emotional intelligence, probably. I think that. All right. Yeah. So this is kind of like a some statement that one of my friend mentioned, that ki having more literate rate means like that having more divorce rate is completely false. Is actually the having more divorce rate is kind of like a something responsible for having little absence of emotional intelligence. All right. Yeah. All right. I should supposed to be end here. This is it. Thank you.